Press record in the live stream. There we go. All right, getting the live stream up. Thank you guys. Um, I created a couple of thumbnails for the video cover today. I'm sure you guys have already seen my new appearance and how spectacular um this new look I have of being a svelte 235 pounds, solid muscle pack, six pack, ab sitting on the front of my 100-foot yacht. Not. Um, there's going to be a lot called into question. And I kind of realized this a long time ago when they had created an AI image and actual video production where they had Barack Obama introducing himself to me online and then signing a card to me. And then it was so real, so literal, straight from Barack Obama's mouth. I did not understand how they were able to produce that. And here we are these days where you just don't know what you don't know. And I have been on vacation, a working thing for a better part of a couple weeks. Got back this last weekend and a lot of revelation came. Um, and you're going to see a transformation in and or a pivot in the way that we structure our marketing. Um, and you're going to understand why when I release a video I did for the VIP members today. I don't normally do this. I've only done maybe once or twice this last year. But I have a couple streams a week where I go live with the VIP members and I talk about some important issues of the different elements of just how important it is to be solid in our framework, spiritually, physically, emotionally, and jurisdictionally. And God kind of gave me a revelation when I was gone. I got to speak to the people on subject matter to which they're familiar. And that subject matter, quite frankly, will lead into other topics of conversation as they continue in relationship with myself and this business model. We've been doing this business model where we are a business with a ministerial mindset. Yes, church, yes, ministry, but we don't take donations as a regular church. And so we have a structure to which it's self-supporting. And so we have products and different things like that. And our products align with privacy, our products align with security, asset protection, um, and all the things. And then you kind of take a look at where God has you in your life, kind of you do a lot of self-reflection, especially when you're on a vacation. Um, and you start to realize why you got to this point, like why you're here. And then just how important the nature of why we are here. And I don't want to get into a spiritual conversation with you guys, but I do want to tell you, um, his advocates, meaning this business model that I represent, has the solution for people in the world marketplace of coming events, um, across the board for the way to conduct one's personal affairs, for the way to conduct business affairs, for the way to hold title on your home. Where Agenda 2030, where the mockery of own nothing and love it will no longer be prevalent for you if you follow our steps in this ministry. I'm going to tell a short story. I heard Klaus Schwab, head of the World Economic Forum at one point, say to the world, you will own nothing and you will love it. And I started thinking to myself, how are they going to pull that off by 2030? And the reality is they've already pulled it off. And this is hard for people to swallow, to understand. And without getting really specific, I want to explain to you that we, as a body of people, and his advocates are reaching out to you as a community to get the discussion points going with your neighbors, your family, that are relevant and that won't make you look kooky. Myself, as a licensed real estate broker by trade, know the ins and outs of title better than a lot of title attorneys. I'm not the best, but I'll tell you right now, I understand the chain of title. I understand foreclosures, why they're illegal, unlawful. I understand why they do what they do. And as it relates to deeds that are the modern day deed versus the deed we have had in the 1800s. And I go into further detail. I'm only going to take a few minutes today, but I explained on this posting that I'm going to put out tonight on all the different social media platforms and on His Advocates TV. I explained to the people the nature of just why and how important this is, that we develop a transitional tool that we can explain to people that doesn't make us look kooky, that people will have a general and or better understanding of why it is we think the way that we do, and not just be able to blow it out with a that's not real, that's made up. It's just simply untrue. It's not. It's very real. It's not made up. It's the way every deed was recorded in this nation up until the mid 30s, 40s, and 50s of the 1900s. And so when you take a look at the modern day deeds, I want you to first know that you, as the grantee, the purchaser, when you buy a home, listen to me very carefully. When you buy a home, you have to have a contract between a seller and a purchaser. What is that agreement? It's not just a purchase agreement. What is the actual title? What is the agreement? It's a deed. So what happens in a deed, which is the only relevant recordation of proof of ownership, when you do not sign it? So the United States federal government, working with the banks, has decided to defraud American people because the United States corporation is inside of a bankruptcy. And the pivot came to trying to take control of all of our land, all of the people, which is the conspiracy, but true. It's still a conspiracy fact. All of the rights and passages to everything that this country has ever owned or had involved inside of a bankruptcy. Even when you buy a car, it is not your car. You are issued a certificate of title. The actual title, which is the MSO, gets sent to the state. The manufacturer, Ford, Volkswagen, Chevy, they create the title. They're the creator of the product. It used to be that when you were a kid, back in the days, if you're over 50 years old, you know that you received an MSO, not a title from the state. So every element of what is real needs to apply to our thinking today. And this is why we as a business or a ministry are pivoting, not walking away at all, because I'm excited about the fact that once you've got somebody hooked to the truth, they seek more. They're open to listen. And again, not to get spiritual with you, but Paul, when he went to the Ephesians, he looked on their wall of gods, and there was a God called the unknown God. And that was the one that he used to reason with them about who Jesus is. We need to be able to have something to dialogue with our family, with our friends, with the community, to show them the trail of facts. I did a acceptance of a deed showing $49 on store.hisadvocates.org. Super important to understand that the law says what I'm saying right now. An acceptance of the deed is a must. If you do not, who is the purchaser when a deed that only has a grantor and by name a grantee, but nobody accepts it. That means the responsible instrument gets put into the public for the state's use. Period. And then to top it off, without getting too deep into it, they changed every element of what you truly are purchasing and what they are truly loaning against on this deed. Instead of meets and bounds, which is land, it's a legal description, which is territory. It's above the land. And so I'm sharing this with you because it goes even deeper than that, but without it going deeper than that, for us to understand that we have a matter of a few years to stand in the gap for the people of this world. And I believe with whole heart that when you dedicate something to a structure to which God controls, I know man's law is designed to protect that thing 100%. And I know that if we can take a deed that's currently recorded in a county recorder, also registered against the bankruptcy as the asset of the United States, and you can restructure that deed and sell it and sell the land, which is what you should have had in the beginning. The vesting should have been land. It should not have been a legal description. And this is important. If you have the home, they don't want you to know this. They're not going to contest any portion of what we're telling you. They are hoping that they have figured this out and that there is nobody speaking up on this. There's a ton of people out there, gurus, speaking about land trust, speaking about foundations, speaking about Cook Island Trust. They don't know jack when it comes to protecting your home. The instrument that protects the home isn't just the foundation, the trust, the whatever you are trying to protect your home with. It's the physical deed and the recordation of the deed instead of registration because you've done an improper deed. And I am going to get into it in a big way because this is what I believe God has shown me as the lost leader to make it into the hearts and minds of the community. See, we can go and we can take back the world. We can build the republic. We can come into republic ourselves as state citizens. But if you don't have security in the place to which you sleep, if you don't have a place to which you can have that feeling of a safety net, you don't have anything. And so we do have to make what man took away for the use of the enemy. We do have to bring it back and dedicate it back to the Elohim or to the sun, which I'm going to get into at a future event. But his advocates is officially, we're still marketing the same services and products. We're still doing the same things. But our lost leader, and this is very important, and this is a way for you as a man, as a woman, can talk to your friends and family and just say, you got to listen to this guy, Kelby. I'm not coming from left field with no information or very limited information and just barely helping people. We have done thousands of these deeds. We have shown people all over the country how to do this. And this is going to be a coming event where we are all going to collectively work hard to get people butts in the seats. Because if I can show people, address the questions, and we can get to the masses, we can take back from the thieves that stole the property because we didn't have the knowledge that we really needed to have. And we can vest what belongs to God truly into a foundation and protected, tax exempt, estate tax, capital gains tax, even property tax. Now, I'm going to tell you, they will fight you on the property tax, but if you were of the knowledge and have support and understand why you are exempt, they have to make you exempt. First and foremost, you're a foundation. There is no jurisdiction. Those taxes are over something to which they own and control. As a matter of fact, fee simple absolute back in the 50s was tax exempt just because the nature to which you held title. They have flipped the narrative so hardcore on the truth. That's why I designed that picture of myself with no shirt on and with a shirt on, showing people we don't know what's real. And we have to truly come at this hardcore. And I'm asking you guys, as my friends, my family, that if we're going to win this battle, we're going to have to talk to people about this. We're going to have to show people the why they want to start looking at why their home is not protected. Don't care if they've got it in a private unregistered trust. Don't care if they've got it in a foundation. We need to make sure the recordation of their deeds is proper. And I am asking from the bottom of my heart, the only way that I am able to get this out is word of mouth. And this is the word of mouth that will not make you look kooky. They will absolutely thank you for helping them understand this at a future date and time. Once they get it, once they see the before, they can Black's Law, understand the definition of these words, and they see the after. Once they look at some old school deeds and they understand why we chose the language that we choose now for our new deeds. What's going to happen, guys, is we're going to take this country out of the hands of a federal bankruptcy and put it in the hands of Yeshua. That's what a foundation is. And what's going to happen is the people will have protected safe havens to which they can dwell, make their food, grow their food, and not have to worry about what they're putting in their bodies. And it will be you they thank at some future date for giving them this information. So from the bottom of my heart, I'm asking that you take a video like this and forward it to people so that they can get their mind wrapped around what it is we're talking about within reference to the deeds, and have them watch this next video that we're posting later on tonight so that people can get an understanding of the important nature of why they want to secure their assets. With that, I'm going to start the questions. David, it's for you. We formed a foundation buy, selling what was a family trust. Can a new family trust be made again and be held within the foundation? Absolutely. What is the best way to go about that? Well, there's kind of like what I would do, David. If you want us to do it, we can do it for you. But you can simply create an operating agreement within the foundation that reflects the trust indenture. Just remember, the beneficial interest within the foundation is Yeshua. So we're not bringing assets in and out of the foundation. The assets stay in the foundation. And we eventually want to teach the children either how to operate through the foundation exclusively, or they can get their own individual foundations to which they can pull money out of that foundation and put money into. So the point being, we don't want to have a beneficial interest moment where there's a payout and a taxable event. Even though there would never be a taxable event coming out of a foundation, there are children that will still take that, report that, and it's a waste. But we can do it for you. And if that's something you would like us to do, let us know on your ticket. But it's something you can pretty much do on your own as well. I imagine that would be an event that the foundation would be dissolved. Nope. And that the trust would then be in position to clearly instruct the next actions. I know you feel the foundation should be kept intact. Hopefully that will be possible. Again, it's a trust is nothing more than a set of rules to follow. So you can create that in a standard operating agreement for the foundation and have all the same rules, except there's no death benefit towards an individual. It's a collective effort for everybody to keep working through the trust. And if there's payouts of certain amounts, let them get their own foundation and we'll pay those dividends out to those expressed individual foundations. Same principle, no tax. A 1993 law was passed called Medicaid estate recovery law. Our foundations are untouchable in that regard, correct? I don't know what that law is, but I haven't seen a foundation get pulled into court, which is part of the reason for the above questions. Okay. All right. Do we have, here we go, going to the Q&A. Hi, Kelby. Regarding the active state, I need to get a form from the Department of State filling out an apostille. There are non-Hague countries and Hague countries. My instructions say to use the form for a non-Hague country. I believe the non-Hague countries require embassy-based form and Hague countries require an apostille form. Should I actually use the Hague form for the apostille from the Secretary of State? Please clarify, as I don't want to make a mistake. Craig, ask our back office, tell them you would like your active state to go public instead of through an apostille through the Secretary of State. It's very inexpensive. It's less money than you would pay for the apostille with the Secretary of State. We put it up into the public for you, give you a certified public posting of your documents and information that you can use for notice of the common law court of record. It's the easier way to answer your question, and it's permanent for sure, and it's public. Same thing. And his advocates is a non-Hague entity. I'm thinking of turning in my social security number altogether. Currently, I would only get about $300 a month. I don't think the money means that much to my wife. Disagrees, but that's another story. I'm close to the part in the living in the private when I send the form for the social. If I decide to get rid of it, could you do it in the way for me in the LPP? First and foremost, the Social Security belongs to the registered organization, meaning the birth certificate. You can't get rid of it. And don't worry about claiming your Social Security and putting it into a foundation, as it does not cause a jurisdictional issue because it truly is equity that was earned. So know that. And know that when it comes time to apply, we help you apply, and we have the forms necessary to apply. And you can do it with a physical form and not online, and just have the deposit go straight into a foundation account. After I finish removing myself from being a United States citizen, I want to get a driver's license as an American, real live person, not the U.S. Corp. Real men and women cannot do business with public franchises. They're only going to accept. That's why they asked you for the ability to bring your birth certificate to the DMV when you were 16 years old. And so their contract with you is as a driver, meaning you are getting a job. And that's certain job requirements. You need to take a test, written, and where you're actually driving a motor vehicle. The reality is the license is being attached to the birth certificate. So you can get rid of a license altogether, and our documents help you to do that. I don't recommend that until they are using that over our head, and telling us you need to have this vaccine, you need to have whatever. I would simply do the step where you keep the license, but do our DMV paperwork within the documents where you keep the license, and it's pretty simple. Hope that answers your questions. Does a property have to be paid off first before it can be in a tax exempt foundation? No, does not. I have heard yes and no. Okay, so Craig, the mystery is this. You have a note, you have a deed of trust. Deed of trust is the agreement on what needs to happen in regards to the collateral. The collateral is and so it's super important to understand what is read in a deed of trust. And one of the general clauses within a deed of trust is they will accelerate the note, meaning they will call the note and say you owe all of it. If you change a title transaction into a foundation, into a trust. So I always make full disclosure in saying that because it's one of the questions on a broker's exam, and it's also a real life knowledge thing when you're dealing with people. However, two things. I watch executives at banks and help them continually move a home out of a trust, get the new loan, record, and then put the loan back, put the home back into the trust, meaning they hit the deed of trust acceleration clause and it never was accelerated. I've never seen a deed of trust be accelerated based on this clause. And it's because there's too many Supreme Court rulings, I'm sure, that have already challenged this. Meaning there are people at those lending institutions doing this themselves, is my point. So, knowing that, no, it doesn't need to be paid off. The tax exempt portions, capital gains for sure, um, where you don't have to pay on the wins of how much more the home has appreciated since you purchased it. The second element is you can take a deduction for donating the house into the foundation, so you can have a tax strategy there for yourself as you're moving into the private on those final returns. But you do have to have this knowledge of the deed of trust where it may be and maybe not. Yours might not say it. Quite honestly, it's been over 10 years since I've really looked into that specific component for a deed of trust. Sometimes they have them, sometimes they don't, the acceleration clause. So just know we've done it. I have umpteen thousand times. I have no idea. Truly have no idea. Never seen one called in foundations, in trust, different things like that. So just have that knowledge in the back of your mind. Do you have to own your own house outright to do the paperwork to stop paying property taxes? Francine, there is no paperwork that says here is a way to stop paying property taxes. There are forms to which you can fill out at the county that say if you are a 501c3, specifically that entity, these are the forms you must fill out to try to get a tax exemption. They take a right, which would be a tax exempt organization such as a foundation, and they turn it into a permission-based environment. So no, to answer your question is no. Immediately when the house is owned by the foundation, technically it can be property tax exempt. I am going to say this again, and I will never stop saying this. It is a fight. It is not something they just lay down and hand off. We have had success. It is not on a 10 out of 10 basis by far. As a matter of fact, I couldn't even give you the numbers, but I can tell you, yes, people that are fighters, people that have knowledge of court experience, people that have knowledge of legal documents, they have won this challenge and have an exempt strategy for themselves in their home. So just know that. But number one, Francine, it's not about 100% of just getting out of taxes. It's not. You want to protect the asset. You want to have the proper deed form. If you've done just that, you won. You are so far ahead of everybody else. You have true ownership and title of an entity that nobody can sue or bring under their control. That is a win. Accept the win and understand if you want more than that and you want to be totally tax exempt, you've got a fight on your hands. And I'm going to keep saying that for the next 10 years to come because we're not selling products pertaining to helping people with this regard. There might come a point to which there is a case law that we can just utilize and show everybody that they can tap into for themselves. But for now, it is what it is. Hi, Kelby. Thank you for taking your time a couple weeks ago again to clarify my I-94 document. I'm still waiting on my statement of faith doc to include in the passport pack. That's not a question, Logan. Do you have a question? And are you waiting on something from us? Mark, based on your earlier comments about deeds and after we have done a lot of the LPP process, do you recommend eventually getting to do land patents? No, I do not. Mark, Okay. I did land patent seminars with Bob Schaefer, who would talk about bringing forward a land patent. I've met all the guys that show people how to bring forward a land patent. I'm not saying it's not real. I will say this. I don't know how anybody can make a claim to a land patent and properly take care of it at the county recorder level when there is a county recorder with a deed instrument that says something completely different than the land patent that you've signed, generally speaking, or you've accepted. Even if you haven't accepted, now you're coming in with these accepting of a land patent, which is a much bigger piece of land than what your little property within it. And that's number one. Number two, you're nowhere on the land patent as an assignee. You have no general right or interest to the land patent. So, what is the equivalent of absolute tenure entitled to the center of the earth like a land patent has? And that is a vesting on a deed called fee simple absolute. Today, I can record a deed with gold using a foundation, using the vesting fee simple absolute, and take the assets to the center of the earth unless upon purchase, you have already written easement policies within the deed. You've already restricted yourself to water rights or lack thereof. You've already restricted yourself to mineral rights or lack thereof. You can only go as far on a deed as to what you, meaning if there's no easements, if there's no restrictions, you can literally change a deed from a legal description to meets and bounds, change it from joint tenants, which is owning nothing, to fee simple absolute, from your name, which they own and control, to the name of a foundation to which you control. That's why we're doing this. And that's the nature of the important component of why we're doing this. If you can take a deed from, and accepting the deed, by the way, too, to a point today to where true ownership is had. If it wasn't important, listen to me, and I say this to everybody every time because I don't know who's hearing this time. But I really want you to understand, if this wasn't important, why did they change 50 years ago the way we were recording deeds? It's the most important factor for Agenda 2030 that they don't allow for something like this to take place. God will protect us. We will convert as much of this land back under his jurisdiction. We will have safety because we are coming out of that structural system. And it's everything that we screwed up with. And that's just little bits and pieces at a time. So, Mark, don't worry about a land patent unless your entire property that you own is that land patent and there's no more. Because then you have a relevant argument about truly bringing forward a land patent, not a portion thereof, not even as an assignee. You have to, when there's an assignor of a patent, there has to be an assignee. If there's a trust, there's a grantor, there is a grantee. When you're missing the grantee component, you don't have a consummated contract. You don't have a deal between the grantor or the grantee, the assignor of the land patent or the assignee, meaning you can't accept it. It's a patriot myth, my personal feelings at best. And I hate to say it, but I have not seen it work in a foreclosure case, and I have not seen it work in many things. However, I've seen some things scare the county from pursuing certain action against code enforcement violation for people that do generally accept and bring forward a land patent. It doesn't mean it's accurate in law, doesn't mean it holds this massive amount of weight, and it doesn't mean you now are under a land patent. Why? Because the county is still collecting tax from you. The county is still got a deed showing that you are joint tenant invested, meaning you don't have true ownership. So what do they care? What do they care? So we have to deal with the actual agreement that has taken place, which is the deed on hand. Instead of going and getting another patent and trying to bring forward that patent over and on top of our deed, let's correct the record and change it to something that mirrors a patent, which is fee simple absolute. What does transferring a home into my name from a relative look like as a state citizen? I wouldn't do it. I put it in a foundation. Is it different? No, same process. I've looked briefly into inheritance planning and TOD. Just curious of what it looks like as a state citizen. Marcus, if you need help, reach out, let us know. It is not an issue. It's the same policy and procedure, but Mark, the deed is important. Having it done into a foundation is important. It's just asset protection on steroids, and it's really going to help you out in the future. My question, I've been waiting 2 weeks for my statement. Logan, my apologies. I'll get to it tomorrow with Alex. You've been waiting for 2 weeks for a statement of faith document. What should I expect it sent to me? What do you mean you've been waiting for 2 weeks for my statement of faith? You make the statement of faith. It's something you have to write out and then post on your ticket. It's not something we give to you. Does that make sense? By the way, for the question and answer group that are generally coming on these Mondays at 5 p.m. or Tuesdays at 5 p.m., please note, starting on the 20th of this month, you can go to our events calendar on hisadvocates.org, and starting tomorrow at 4 p.m., all people, VIP members with the Living in the Private group, all of those can come to a Q&A where we can go back and forth and we don't have a block of you having to type. And it's a workshop to deal with the questions and the problems that you're having inside of Living in the Private. So it's another level of communication to allow for a quick answer and progress to happen on your file. So 4 o'clock tomorrow, I'm going to send out VIP notices and stuff like that. So Logan, do me a favor, address what I just asked you because I'm confused still. Please explain how the statement of faith document works. We require a statement of faith from you so that we can create a private church for you called a foundation. The statement of faith is a document that comes from your heart of your relationship as you understand it with God. So you either notarize it or do a witness. You write down your relationship with God, what you believe, and you put a notary on it or a dual witness, and you load the statement of faith to us so that we can review it and create a church for you, a humanitarian foundation, which allows for you to be in private and hold and control assets in the private. Does that make sense? Question on setting up a business or a company. How do I go about creating a PMA? And what do you recommend? Can I sign up for the $49 a month membership and start learning and building? And is it possible to create my own land? And in that way, create my own land. Maybe misworded that. Edward, we can definitely help you with. You don't want a PMA. Most counties will not accept a PMA for the ownership of a property. So if you need a foundation, reach out to us on hisadvocates.org, post a support ticket requesting that, and we'll give you the links. The $49 a month always helps us and helps you to get questions answered like tomorrow at 4 p.m. Also online, you can ask pretty much any question and we'll get to you and address your answers there. Anything is possible, Edward. Anything. Do I need to set up a time for a private consultation? You have to help me with the driver's license issue. Um, Kelly, ask our back office what is your question? You want what is the driver's license issue? Ask me right now, please. You can do a PMA for a company. It would be better if you did an unincorporated business trust or a foundation for a company, not a PMA. I mean, you can do a PMA, but you're going to get some pushback, a little bit, in my opinion. Um, Greg, permission an ongoing dispute with our county over property tax. What if I take him to court and a judge sides with the state? How do I convince the corrupt judge to rule in my favor? Um, that's a loaded question. There's a ton of would haves, could haves, and should haves in that. And Greg, it's really hard to answer that just blatantly. Um, the element of us being tax exempt is absolute. Um, this is something that probably would never make it through court because they don't want this to get to a record. But that's kind of a loaded question because we don't know why, what their decision is. We don't know anything, and it's would have, could have, and should have, and we really can't think in that regards for you or the future. We need to think in absolutes of what we know, and that's the best way to approach that. Um, the IRS adhesion letters for me included documents I had signed up to 2023. Do the letters need to be done again to include more recent years, or my IRS 3 rounds letters sufficient as is? So, Craig, you did our letters in 2023. Have you recontracted with the IRS since then? Answer those 2 questions, please. So, to be clear, in our conversation on the phone a couple weeks ago, I wanted to use UVE Real Life Church to get a certificate of faith. You wisely recommended that I do more research, like if they were a 50. Oh, Logan, you're trying to get a ministry license. Just say that, brother. That's just say that. Are you asking for us to do something in that respect for you to where you can hold a certificate or a license as a minister? Is that correct? Universal Life Church. Yeah, I know what you mean. No, just for this year, I did them. So you did them this year. My letters said for documents up to 2023. Include up to this year. Change the documents to reflect a proper record. And show me where it says that. Go online and let Alex know that it says that on the documents up to 2023 if I'm getting it right. All right, guys. Look, we're gonna have our first day tomorrow. I'm looking forward. Jump on tomorrow, 4 p.m. Don't forget, you VIP members, you LPP members, to get a proper Q&A where we can just look at each other and address these questions that you may have. Oh no, so there's 3 more rounds of the IRS docs again. I don't know. I'm kind of confused, Craig. That's why I think tomorrow is going to be helpful. Tomorrow, 4 o'clock, Craig. Craig, ask the question to me live tomorrow. You recommend a statement of faith document? Yes. Logan, I need you to write a statement of faith. Doc, is that, but answer my question, Logan, is that so that you can get a pastor's certificate or something to that degree, like you were trying to do through the Universal Life Church? Answer that if you would, please. Kelly says, I want to keep the license, but I will remove the ability from the state to usurp your status. Kelly, so you're establishing the record of who you are by doing what you're doing with the DMV. That does not get put on every law enforcement's desk worldwide saying, "Don't touch this guy, Kelly Case. You know, this is my good buddy. Don't ever deal with this guy again." Unfortunately, that just is what it is. Law enforcement is being trained that driving without a license is illegal, and that's absolutely a lie. Law enforcement is not going to be trained that you have special rights. However, I have seen many people not use a driver's license at a stop, and they'll use a passport card and they get let go on the spot. I have seen one get arrested, and he had a great vacation for a couple of days and got back together with his family. So, um, to answer your question, uh, when you're in court, no, there's procedures in court, Kelly, that you need to do that would absolutely be helpful. And we're going to be talking about some of that stuff this year. Um, but let's just keep in the mindset you're never going to be in court, Kelly. I want to help you with that. But we're going to be definitely helping people. Okay, Logan, I don't want to use Universal Life because they are a 501(c)(3). Got it. What are my options to get a ministerial certificate? That's what I'm asking. I would need, it's something I've not been asked directly to give people before. I don't, if you've already given us, Logan, a statement of faith, we would be more than happy to give you a certificate of pastoralship. Okay. Yeah. Being in court, if you can remain calm and you know the right things to ask, you can win almost every time. Judges are master manipulators, as people know, and they play tennis better than anybody. And you're in a court of law, so they're hitting that law back to you, back and forth. And when they hit something into your side of the court and there's no proper response, generally they win that point. So we have to think about court in that respect, and we need to know how to keep them standing on an understanding of their oath. Number one, there's no injured party. Number two, the state cannot be an injured party. Number three, and those things. And those are the things that win the procedures of a court case, generally speaking. But number five, six, seven, eight, nine, and 10, how did they get jurisdiction over you if you are in fact a state citizen and you've done the living in the private process formally? I can't help you if you're a murderer, a robber, terrorist, those types of things. They're going to use, uh, a real grand jury, which is truly what they need to, from an operational standpoint, to gain jurisdiction over a state citizen. A true bill. Those are the things that they can utilize. But when you do the right thing of completely removing yourself as through the living in the private program, jurisdiction's wanting. So you're only in court, Kelly, for a low level case like a ticket. Some are worth fighting, some aren't. But there is absolutely a procedure that you can utilize that you can fight every case with, every ticket with in a low level court. Kelby, can you please clarify the $49 VIP membership be helpful enough to set up an unregistered non-PMA enterprise you mentioned earlier, and do it properly if I'm not able to afford the foundation package or other packages? Um, SK, we have helped a lot of people. We don't do the foundation for the VIP membership. The VIP membership is second. We would obviously love to have you as a VIP member. There's a lot of VIP membership benefits. Um, we meet every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m. and we're working on a lot of principles that nobody is ever even thinking about or talking about. And I believe we as a ministry are changing lives and affecting mass change for the American population of true understanding of emotional, physical, spiritual jurisdiction under the Elohim. And there's more. I can just go on and on and on about the VIP membership. A foundation is what you would need. It'd be $29.95. If it's something you can't afford, um, I would just simply ask on a private dialogue with you. I'd have to consult with you, like, what is it for? What is your heart? We've helped people for free. Um, and we've also helped people and said, when you can make payment, please do so. And and help them with the foundation. So both of those options are open. Um, so send you the notarized statement of faith, and you'll provide me with a ministerial certificate to be used. Not that easy, but yeah, similar to that. I just want to chat with you real quick, Logan, see exactly what you're needing. But if our faith aligns, that's a little different than just creating a open church for people or an open foundation for people. But I want to help you, Logan. Don't worry about it. Okay, listen. If I can ask anything of you guys, I'm gonna cool it on the questions. Let's get everybody tomorrow gathered together on at 4 o'clock. Um, look, the VIP members are gonna get a notice tomorrow, the LPP members. So hopefully, when you get the link, just show up and I'll be there to answer questions and deal with these back and forth issues that some people may have. Um, but my goal and my heart is to get you into an understanding of the deed so that you know how important it is, so that you can have a discussion point that doesn't make you look like a crazy sovereign conspiracy theorist. Because when people break through in their understanding of getting something corrected, like a deed, and they start listening to the why and how important it is in the coming years, you're going to become their hero and they're going to get dripped different elements of spiritual jurisdiction, physical jurisdiction, like the state citizenship stuff, and much, much more. We're coming out with a whole slew of privacy products. We're helping people move from public side healthcare to private health coverage. We're helping people move from expensive cell phone bills to, a private using a tax ID number from a foundation versus your social, all kinds of things that are good that are happening. So just know this. We have gone on the 16-year journey. I'm excited that you guys are all a part of this and part of this great movement. I need your help in a big way to tell people about us and his advocates and just start with the deed, because everything else will fall into place once they hear the fraud that's happening. And I think it's going to get a lot easier for people to understand with some of the stuff that's going to be introduced over this summer. The why. They may not care as much then, but trust me, it's going to be even more important to get your ducks in a row over the next couple of years, and get your family protected and so on. So God bless you guys. Have a great week, and I will see you tomorrow, 4 p.m. For you LPP VIP members, and appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. We're working very hard to catch up on everything, and there's only a few tickets outstanding. We got a lot of tickets caught up on today. I got to get a vacation in every now and then, but it really helped me to put into perspective, I think, a new approach for this ministry. So God bless. Have a great week, and I'll see you tomorrow, 4 p.m.